Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Kim and welcome back to Uncommonkim. So today I am doing 10 books that will self-destruct in a year if I don't read them. There's some quite popular books on this list. However, I'm going to go through the less popular ones first, and I'll briefly go over what they are about, and if there is any specific reason as to why I haven't read it yet, basically. These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. Now, I have put this on a TBR about 5 times and I've just never gotten round to it, which is really annoying because it's quite short. It is probably something I would enjoy, you just keep putting it off. So briefly going over the synopsis. Hannah's a witch, but not the kind you're thinking of. She's the real deal, an elemental with the power to control fire, earth, water and air. But even though she lives in Salem, Massachusetts, it's a secret she has kept to herself. If she's caught using it in front of a reg, non-witch, read non-witch, she could lose it for good. So Hannah spends most of her time avoiding her ex-girlfriend and fellow elemental witch Veronica, hanging out with her best friend and working at the Fly by Night Cauldron, selling candles and crystals to tourists, goths and local Wiccans. But dealing with her ex is the least of Hannah's concerns when evidence of a dark magic begins to appear all over Salem. Hannah's sure it's the work of a deadly blood witch, but her coven is less than convinced. So Hannah is forced to team up with the last person she wants to see, Veronica. And while the pair attempt to smoke out the Blood Witch, Hannah meets Morgan, a cute new ballerina in town. Trying to date amid a supernatural crisis is easier said than done, though especially when the attacks on Salem witches become deadlier by the day. Now, with everything she loves on the line, Hannah must confront this murderous villain before her coven and any chance she has with the new girl is destroyed. So honestly, I do think I will enjoy it, but I do just keep putting it off, so I feel like putting it on self-destruct will actually force me to read it. Because funnily enough, I also own the second book and also haven't read that. Is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I tried to read this about 6 months ago, and I was just I literally read maybe like 10 pages and then I got bored, so that didn't go any further. But I've seen Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy read the 3rd book in this series recently, and I saw Becca's reading the series 2 from Becca and the Books, and it does make me want to read it. I just wonder if it's not going to be for me, but I'm going to give it a go. Hopefully, otherwise goodbye. So the synopsis is: enter a school of magic unlike any you have ever encountered. There are no teachers, no holidays, friendships are purely strategic, and the odds of survival are never equal. Sorry. Once you're inside, there are only 2 ways out. You graduate or you die. Eli Higgins is uniquely prepared for the school's many dangers. She may be without allies, but she possesses a dark power strong enough to level mountains and wipe out untold millions. Never mind easily destroy the countless monsters that prowl the school. Except she might accidentally kill all the other students too. So Eli is trying her hardest not to use it. But that is unless she has no other choice. See, it does sound like good, but also I find that I am a hit and miss when it comes to school settings. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. So hopefully I do, because I believe I have the Illumicrate edition. And it's quite pretty. So I would like to keep this. But it does depend on whether I enjoy it or whether I even get round to it. I just know that whenever it comes up on a TBR, I avoid it. I just do my own head in sometimes. So the next book is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. Now, I am a Karen fan. I do love Karen's writing. I enjoy her stories. I enjoy anything she writes. And I've owned this for probably about 3-4 years, and I just haven't read it. I've read nearly everything else by her but this one, so I would like to get to this soon, so hence why it is on here. So the synopsis is: Echo Ridge is reeling. The picturesque town nested near Canadian border experienced its first tragic loss in 1995 when high school senior Sarah Corcoran vanished while walking home from the library. Then 5 years later, homecoming queen Lancey Kilduff was found dead in the aptly named Murderland Halloween Park. Now the killer claims to be back. A small town that keeps losing its homecoming queens. 2 murders still unsolved. See, this sounds like a bit of me. I just need to read it. Because, as I say, I love Karen. I love her writing. I love anything she has written has got a high rating. I honestly just need to get round to it and get on with it. Otherwise it's disappearing and then my collection's incomplete. That should be enough for me. Because as you can probably see here, is that the books? Yeah, I've got 3 of the books here, and then I have got tucked away 2 of these special editions of Nothing More to Tell and One of Us is Lying. I got the collector's editions of those, and then the only ones I haven't read is this one, The Cousins, and Nothing More to Tell. Nothing More to Tell came out last year, and The Cousins came out the year before that. So that, I'm like, fair enough. But this has been out for a bloody long time. Should I have a look how long this has been out for? 2019. Come on, Kim. Get your butt in gear. Now, these next 3 books I actually bought all at the same time when I first started my Bookstagram, which I believe is either coming up 3 or 4 years October this year. Don't tell me which, because I don't know. And I bought these 3 books together based off of Bookstagram, Booktube, popular books at the time, books that I thought, yeah, I want to read that, and I still haven't read them. So the first one is 6 Wicked Reasons by Jo Spain. If you don't know, I do quite like a thriller mystery book, especially when I first started on Bookstagram. Yeah, I was really into it, so I basically bought anything anyone mentioned. So here is one. I believe Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte read this. I could be very wrong there, but I believe that's where I saw this. So I'll go briefly over the synopsis. So it's June 2008 and 21-year-old Adam vanishes, presumed dead. The strain of his disappearance breaks his already fragile family. 10 years later, with his mother deceased and siblings scattered across the globe, Adam turns up unannounced at the family home. His siblings return reluctantly to Spanish Cove, but Adam's reappearance poses more questions than answers. The past is a tangled web of deceit. And as tension builds, it's apparent somebody has planned a murderous revenge for the events of 10 years ago. See, that sounds like my kind of book. It sounds brilliant. It sounds like my cup of tea. So why haven't I bloody read it? I just frustrate myself because it's there. It's on my shelves. Maybe it's because I have too many options, I don't know, but this is why it's going on here, because I need to read it, or it just needs to go. At this point it's getting too much. The same goes for this book, A Taste for Monsters by Matthew J. Kirby. I heard about this, I believe, on Bookstagram many moons ago, and I believe it is about Jack the Ripper. Yes. It's London, 1888, and Jack the Ripper is terrorising the people of the city. Evelyn, a young woman disfigured by her dangerous work in the matchsticks factory, who has nowhere to go, does not know what to make of her new position as the maid of Elephant Man in the London hospital. Evelyn wants to be locked away from the world like he is, shut in from filth and dangers of the city, but in Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, she finds a gentle kindred who does not recoil from her and who understands her pain. When the murders begin, however, Joseph and Evelyn are haunted nightly by the ghost of the Ripper's dead, setting Evelyn on a path to facing her fears and uncovering humanity's worst nightmares. A terrifying and haunting tale of the monstrosity of humankind and the salvation of one may find in the unlikely of places. I am a sucker for anything related to anything that was merely true crime. Make sense? Probably not. So for example, Jack the Ripper, true crime, in a sense. So for example, Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, you know who I mean. Absolutely loved it, gave it 5 stars because it's merely based off of true crime. So this I should enjoy because it's based off of true crime. It's quite short actually. Again, I should have read it by now, I haven't. However, I even need to read it in the next drawer, it needs to disappear. Simples. These have all got the same vibes. I just genuinely need to read these books or get them off my shelves because my shelves are overloaded and I just even need to read them when they need to go because I'm running out of space. I'm not planning on moving out anytime soon because that is expensive. So I just need to cut down on space. I don't have much space in my room unless my brother leaves and then I can have his room for my book room. But I can't see that happening anytime soon. So now, oh no, let's leave, because it's quite a popular book, that one. So we're gonna leave. So I've basically got 5 books left. We're halfway. 4 of these books I see as popular books on booktube, BookTok, Bookstagram, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna do this one first, which isn't as popular, and then we'll move on to those. So we have The Shadow Between Us, Dressia Levenseller. Let's go with that. Dressia Levenseller, The Shadow Between Us. I bought this many moons ago because of the lovely At Mummy's Reading, Bex. The lovely Bex. She read this quite a few moons ago now, and I bought it because of her. There's a lot of books I've bought because of her. There's another one down here that I will go through soon I bought because of her. Thank you, Bex. And this is one of them. This is one of the ones I bought because she loved it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna read that. That was about 2-3, it must be 4 years ago because it was pre-COVID. No, it must be, no, I started this and I started booktube, no, none of them, Bookstagram at the very beginning of 2020. So it must have been 2020 that Bex recommended me this. Thank you, Bex, my dear. However, it is now on Less Self-Destruct. So, oh, it's got a very short synopsis, that's great. So, my lovers all feel the need to give me nice things, very expensive things. It's been a fun game, learning their secrets, seducing them, getting them to shower me with gifts. But to be honest, I'm bored with it. I have a new game in mind. I'm going to woo the king. I suspect it won't be longer than a month before he's helplessly in love with me. When he proposes, I will say yes for the first time. For once the marriage is official and consummated, I will kill the Shadow King and take his kingdom for myself. But yeah, that sounds great. It sounds lovely. It's not too long for a fantasy, so I'm excited to read this. Let's just hope that I do. The final four, which I don't want to have to get rid of any of these, so I do just need to read them. So the first is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I recently read Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber and I loved it. And my friend Amy read Caraval this year, I believe. The whole series, I'm pretty sure. And she enjoyed it. So I do just need to get on with it at this point. Again, this is another one I bought very new into Bookstagram. I bought a lot of books when I started at Bookstagram, and this was one of them, just because it was very popular at the time. I believe it is still quite a popular book, so why haven't I read it? Who knows? My brain just says no, apparently. So, synopsis. Once a year, the infamous master legend hosts Caraval. Open only to those who have been invited. This year, the week-long game is on Legends Glittering. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's like where is it? Here. It's like a place. Where the winding streets are elaborate snow-covered maze and people are never who they seem. At midnight on the first day, the show begins and the visitors become players. Each of them is in for the coveted prize, a single wish. All they must do is unravel the mystery of Caraval, but in a game where danger hides behind every charming smile, winning isn't without loss, and with their wish might be their last. I don't know if I am going to like this. I'm nervous. Because so with my friend Amy and myself, I find that we have very similar reading tastes in the sense of we love Sarah J Maas, we love a bit of smart, we love Colleen Hoover. However, there's some things that she's read and recommended to me and I read them and I didn't like them. For example, Belladonna. Didn't like Belladonna. She also loved Godkiller. Didn't like Godkiller. But then she also recommended me the Slated series by Terry, which I loved. So I don't know. This could go either way. It all depends really. So there's a trio. There's me, there's Amy, and then there's Danny. And me and Danny have very similar reading tastes. Anything Danny likes, I like. Me and Amy are very much a rocky road. Some things she likes I like, some things she likes I don't. So I don't really know where this is going to go. I kind of need Danny to read it and then I know whether I'm going to like it or not. But if I don't read it in the next year, goodbye Caraval. I'm not even going to bother with you anymore. Okay, where shall I go next? I think I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to go for this one. So the next one is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This was the other book that I said Bex from, I think it's At Mummy is reading, I think. She loves this series and I was like, oh, I'm going to give it a go. As you can see, I did start it and I got a good chunk of the way through and then I got bored. And I was like, I'll come back to that, and it's now coming on like 2 years later and I still haven't continued. So I genuinely just need to either continue or not, one or the other. I don't think it really matters which, but I just kind of need to get on with it at this point because this is a chonker and it's taken up a lot of space on my shelves. So if you didn't know what A Discovery of Witches is about, I will read the synopsis for you. Deep in the stacks of Oxford's library, a young scholar, Diana Bishop, unwittingly calls upon a bewitched alchemy manuscript in the course of her research. Descended from an old and distinguished line of witches, Diana wants nothing to do with the sorcery. So after a fugitive glance and a few notes, she's banished the book to the stacks. But her discovery sets a fantastical underworld stirring, and a horde of demons, witches and vampires soon descend upon the library. Diana has stumbled upon a coveted treasure lost for centuries, and she is the only creature who can break its spell. I honestly don't know if I am going to like this. I hope I do. I really do. Because it's quite popular and I'd love to be like, oh yeah, I like Discovery of Witches, but I just don't know if it's going to be for me, because from what I can remember reading, it was just very how do I explain? There was just a lot that was not needed in the plot. Like, it could have probably been half of that size and still they would have got the point across in the end. But I was halfway and we were going to dance classes or something and it just honestly was not making any fucking sense. So hopefully now I'm a bit older and I have more patience, because back then I just DNF'd loads of things, I will actually read this and enjoy it and not give up so easily, but who knows. Okay, the final two books are The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. Now I know that I'm probably going to absolutely love this book. I know I will. Because I love V. Schwab. I love V. Schwab's writing. However, I've owned this since it came out and I have still not read it. So by putting it on this list, it is forcing me to read the bloody book. Because it's just sat there and looked at me for so long. I also own 2 copies of this book and I still haven't read it. It just doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just kind of need to get on with it. Like, I mean, look how beautiful it is. I just need to read it. And I do love V. Schwab and I love V. Schwab's writing. I've read quite a few books by her now. I think I have like 1 series to go or something, but to read something of hers that I haven't already read. And I've loved everything, so I honestly just need to get on with it. So just in case you don't know what Invisible Life Addie LaRue is about, I will quickly go over the synopsis. So, begins the invisible life of Addie LaRue. Shadows muse to artists throughout history, forgotten friends, confidant and lover, slipping away with the morning light. Addie passes through lives desperate only to leave a trace of herself, until the day she walks back into the small bookshop in Manhattan and meets Henry, who she remembers. After 300 years, Addie's life is restarting, but the devil never plays fair. As Henry and Addie's lives start to entwine, they must face the consequences of the decisions they've made and the prices to be paid. See, I just know I'm going to like it. So what the question really is, why haven't I read it? And I know a lot of people that have loved this. I know Steph from Steph Loves, this is like one of her favourite books of all time, and it's like, I'm just annoyed with myself at this point. I just need to read it, like simples. I just need to read it. and once I've read it I can keep both editions. Otherwise they both have to go, and like, what's the point in spending all that money on 2 editions that I'm not going to keep? Who knows? What's the point in buying 2 editions of a book I've never read also? Who knows? Okay, the final book is a difficult one. So I have actually tried to start reading this book before, and at the time my head just wasn't in it, so I put it to one side and was like, I'll come back to you. However, the sequel to this book has just recently come out, and I still haven't read the first book, but I do now own the sequel. I also own 3 copies of this book. I haven't read it, and I own the sequel. Guesses? Any guesses? A very popular author, same colour as my jumper. Any guesses? It's Priory of the Orange Tree. Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I started reading this just before the sequel came out. I was like, yeah, I can read this right now. I think I read about 100 pages and I was enjoying it, but my brain was in the wrong place that time. And I think I was falling behind on my Goodreads goal when I was like, maybe not, maybe I'll come back to you. And I've owned this book for so long, but I'm just so intimidated by the sheer size of it. Like, it is 800 pages? 800 pages. It's absolutely ginormous, and it just puts me off. It honestly just puts me off. But there is a lot of epic fantasy this size I have read it and I've enjoyed it. So why haven't I read it? So many questions, so many questions. So I'm putting this on here because, like I said, I own 3 copies of Priory of the Orange Tree. I also now own the sequel, and if I don't put this on here, I will never read it, and it will just continue to sit and stare at me. So here's Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm assuming most people know what Priory of the Orange Tree is about. Otherwise, I'll just read the small, very small synopsis, which is: a world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakes. That's it. Yeah, I honestly just need to read it. But then me saying, oh yeah, I just need to read it, I'm pretty sure I've said that about every single book on this pile. And have I read them? No, that's why they're on this pile. But yeah, basically I have a year to read these 10 books. Hold on. Alright. I have a year to read these 10 books, and if in a year I haven't read them, I will be unhauling them. I'm being strict because I know what I'm bloody like. I know what I'm like, and I know that I will just leave them on those shelves for years to come going, oh, I'll read them eventually. So they're going on this self-destruct in a year's time, 12 months. These will self-destruct in 12 months if I don't bloody read them. So thanks. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all very soon for another video. Thank you. Bye.